The Westing Game by Ellen Raskin. Day 6. You've got a customer. Jake Wexler pointed a spare rib at the black-clad figure standing at the restaurant door. Must be a bill collector, Hu said, frowning over his account book. Grace looked up, saw it was only the cleaning woman, and returned to the sports photographs she was sorting. A dozen or more superstars would be framed and hung on one wall of Who's on First. Come on over and join us, Jake shouted. Limping to their table, Crow heard Mrs. Wexler click her tongue. Sinful woman, she'll go to heck with her pride and her covetousness, and take that foot butcher of a husband with her. And that one, the fat one, the glutton, the bomber, the mutilator of innocent children. Maybe she is a customer, Hu thought, recognizing the face clenched in righteous anger as that of a diner not being served fast enough. He rose and pulled out of a chair for Crow. My wife will be serving a Chinese tea lunch shortly. Madame Hu placed a variety of dumplings on the table, giggled at Jake, and ran back to the kitchen. That tittering Madame Hu was a beautiful woman, and quite young. Grace, casting a suspicious eye on her husband, was suddenly seized by a surge of gnawing jealousy. Maybe it was just the fried dumpling. Madame Hu returned to pour the tea. Jake patted her hand. Good, Grace noticed. She's clutching her stomach. About time, she felt jealous. The podiatrist turned his smile to Crow. Nothing wrong with your appetite, I'm happy to see. Nothing is wrong with my mouth, the cleaning woman replied, looking down at her plate. It's my feet that hurt. That corn you cut out didn't heal yet. I got a callus on the sole of my left foot, and my ingrown toenail is growing in again. Grace clasped a hand over her mouth and ran out of the restaurant. Mr. Hu headed for the kitchen. Your trouble comes from years of wearing the wrong kind of shoes, Jake lectured. Crow wasn't listening. James Chin Hu, the bomber, was coming back. He had something in his hand. Here, Crow, try these. I invented them myself. Paper insoles. They'll make you feel like you're floating on air. It's tough standing on your feet all day. Here, take them. Crow examined the 2 pads of spongy folded paper. How much? Nothing. Compliments of the house. Still suspicious, Crow slipped the inner soles in her shoes and tried walking. What a blessed relief. Otis Amber was wrong. James Chin Hu was a charitable man. He couldn't be the bomber. Crow floated out of the restaurant without paying for her lunch. Oh no, not another victim, Sidel Pulaski cried, stuffing her notes under the mattress. The nurse wheeled Chris next to Angela's bed and explained that the boy was being tested for a new medication. Are you all right? She asked, bending over the squirming patient. Chris was trying to remove a blank, sealed envelope from his bathrobe pocket. He knew his brother had a crush on Angela. He figured Theo must have sneaked upstairs in the wrong bathrobe to slip this letter under Angela's door, then remembered she was in the hospital and was too shy to give it to her in person. Look at that smile, Sidel exclaimed. From Theo, he said. Chris hoped to watch Angela read the love letter, but the nurse insisted he return to his room. Bye-bye, good luck, Sidel called. Angela waved a bandaged hand. The mountain, Chris replied. From Turtle. Serves her right for kicking his partner. Mountain, Angela thought. Turtle's MT stood for mountain, not empty, and the letter was not from Theo. Your love has 2. Here are 2 for you. Take her away from this sin and hate, now, before it is too late. Again, 2 clues were taped at the bottom. With majesties. Crow and Otis Amber's clues are not king and queen, she told Sidel. They are with thy beautiful majesties. Sandy and the judge were still at work on their heirs. Wexler, Jake Wexler, age 45, podiatrist, graduated from Marquette, married 22 years, has 2 daughters, see below. Grace Windsor Wexler, born Gracie Windklappel, age 42, married to Above, claims to be an interior decorator, spends most of her time in the Chinese restaurant or the beauty parlor. She and Jake, see above, have 2 daughters, see below. Angela Wexler, age 20, engaged to marry Dr. Denton Deere, also an heir. 1-year college, high grades. Victim of 3rd bombing, embroiders a lot. Turtle Wexler, read name, Tabitha Ruth Wexler, age 13, junior high school student. Plays the stock market, smart kid, but kicks people. Flora Bombach calls her Alice. Westing connection, Grace Winslow Wexler claims that Sam Westing is her real uncle. Angela looks like Violet Westing. So does Grace, in a way, except she's older. Sandy fidgeted with his pen. There's something I didn't write down. Maybe I shouldn't tell you, you being a judge and all. But, well, Jake Wexler, he's a bookie. No, he should not have told her. A small-time operator, I'm sure, Mr. McSuthers, the judge replied coldly. It could have no bearing on the matter before us. Sam Westing manipulated people, cheated workers, bribed officials, stole ideas, but Sam Westing never smoked or drank or placed a bet. Give me a bookie any day over such a fine, upstanding, clean, living man. The doorman's face reddened. He pulled the dented flask from his hip pocket and down several swigs. She had been too harsh. Would you like me to fix you a drink, Mr. McSuthers? No thanks, Judge. I prefer my good old Scotch. Windclapple. The judge's outburst was so unexpected. Sandy had a hard time keeping down the last twig. Grace Wexler's maiden name is not Windsor. It's Windclapple, the judge exclaimed, rifling through the pages of Sandy's notebook. Here it is. Berthy Erica Crow. Ex-husband's name, Windy Windclapple. Sandy stopped coughing, started laughing. Grace Windsor Wexler is related to somebody, all right. She's related to the cleaning woman. Think she knows, Judge? I doubt it. Besides, we cannot be certain of the relationship. I'd like to see the documents in Crow's folder again. I'm sure it's Windclapple, Judge. I checked all my spellings 3 times over. Judge Ford reread the private investigator's reports. Mr. McSuthers, it is Windclapple, but look carefully at the name of the woman in this interview. Berthy Erica Crow? Sure, I knew her. She and her pa lived in the upstairs flat. We were best friends, almost like sisters, but she was the pretty one with her beautiful complexion and long gold hair. She left school to marry a guy named Windclapple. Haven't seen or heard from her since. She's not in any trouble, is she? Transcript of taped interview with Sybil Pulaski, November 12th. Pulaski, the doorman said. Not just Pulaski, the judge pointed out. Sybil. Sam Westing wanted Crow's childhood friend, Sybil Pulaski, to be one of his heirs. He got Sidel Pulaski instead. Gee, Judge, I never noticed that. Boy, am I dumb. But what does it mean? What it means, Mr. McSuthers, is that Sam Westing made his first mistake. Confessions, Chapter 20. Friday came quickly to the Westing heirs, too quickly. Time was running out. Turtle skipped school. She was in trouble enough, but she could build her own school and hire her own kind of teachers once she became a millionaire. In spite of having Turtle at her side, Flora Baumbach still stared at the ever-changing endless tape from the edge of the chair. Chewed what remained of her fingernails and uttered an "oh my" each time WPP went by. At 2 o'clock, Westing Paper Products sold at $52 a share, its highest price in 15 years. Now, Mama, sell. Doug, who had a legitimate excuse for classes. Tomorrow was the big track meet. He jogged, he sprinted, he ran at full speed, not on the track, but on the trail of Otis Amber. Back and forth from the shopping center to Sunset Towers, again and again and again. Hey, this is a new direction. Otis Amber parked his delivery bike in front of a rooming house and went inside. Doug waited, hidden in a doorway across the street, and waited. People came and went, but no Otis Amber. Doug jogged up and down the block for 2 hours, still no sign of Otis Amber. Doug was cold and hungry, but at least his feet didn't hurt anymore. Last night when he asked Doc Wexler about his blisters, the podiatrist told him to see his father of all people, but those paper insoles really worked. At 5 o'clock, Otis Amber skipped out of the rooming house, hopped on his bicycle, and returned to Sunset Towers empty-handed. Doug's assignment was over. Well, almost over. Where was Theo? Theo was being patched up in the hospital emergency room after a slight miscalculation in his solution experiment. Fortunately, no one else was around when the lab blew up. You like playing with explosives, kid? The bomber squad detective asked. Accidents in high school chemistry were not unusual, but this student lived in Sunset Towers. I was experimenting on chemical fertilizers, Theo replied, wincing as the doctor probed his shoulder for a glass shard. The first bomb went off in your folks' coffee shop, right? Your mother and father work pretty hard, don't they? They work harder than I do. With all the questions. Why with all the questions? Your captain said the Sunset Towers explosions were just fireworks. Sure they were, but bombers have a funny habit of going in for bigger and bigger bangs until they get caught. Theo had an alibi. He was nowhere near the Wexler apartment the day the third bomb went off. The detective grunted a warning about careless chemistry, but Theo had already learned his lesson. Ouch! At the last coffee shop owner himself delivered the up order. The judge came right to the point. Mr. Theodakis, tell me about your relationship with Violet Westing. I have reason to believe a life is in danger, or I would not ask. It was a question he had expected. I grew up in Westingtown, where my father was a factory foreman. Violet Westing and I were what you'd call childhood sweethearts. We planned to get married someday, when I could afford it. But her mother broke us up. She wanted Violet to marry somebody important. The judge had to interrupt. Her mother? Are you saying it was Mrs. Westing who arranged the marriage, not Sam Westing? George Theodakis nodded. That's right, Sam Westing tried to involve Violet in his business. I guess he hoped she'd take over the paper company one day, but she had her heart set on being a teacher. Besides, Violet didn't have much of a business sense. After that, her father never paid her much attention. Go on, the judge held the witness in her stare. The subject was becoming painful, and Mr. Theodakis faltered several times in the telling. Mrs. Westing handpicked that politician. Probably figured the guy would end up in the White House and her daughter would be First Lady, but Violet thought he was nothing but a cheap political hack, a cheap crook. Violet was a gentle person, an only child. She couldn't turn against her mother. She couldn't face marrying that guy. I guess she couldn't find any way out, except Mrs. Westing sort of went off her rocker after Violet's death. And well, it was a long time ago. Thank you, Mr. Theodorakis, the judge said, ending the interrogation. The man had a different life now, different loves, different problems. Thank you. You have been a big help. Sandy was now able to complete the entry. Theodorakis. Theodorakis, age 17, high school senior, works in family coffee shop, wants to be a writer, seems lonely, can't find anyone to play chess with. Christos Theodorakis, age 15, younger brother of above, confined to a wheelchair, disease struck about 4 years ago, knows a lot about birds. Westing connection. Father was childhood sweetheart of Sam Westing's daughter, who looked like Angela Wexler. Mrs. Westing broke up the affair. She wanted daughter to marry somebody else, but Violet Westing killed herself before the wedding. Neither parents of above are heirs. I hear the new medicine they're trying out on Chris is doing some good, Sandy reported, but the poor kids need more help than medicine. He's real smart, you know. Chris could have a real future, be a scientist or a professor, even. But it will take a pile of money, more money than his folks could ever make, to put him through college with a handicap like that. The parents interest me more, the judge said. Why are they not heirs? Sandy had some thought on that, too. Maybe Sam Westing didn't want to embarrass George Theodorakis, him being married and all. Or maybe Westing figured he'd be too busy with his coffee shop to stay in the game. Or maybe Westing blamed him for his daughter's death, figuring they should have eloped. No, if Sam Westing blamed Mr. Theodorakis, he would have made him an heir in this miserable game, the judge replied. There are too many maybes here, which is what Sam Westing planned. We must not allow ourselves to be distracted from the real issue. Which heir did Sam Westing want punished? The person who hurt him most, Sandy guessed. And who would that be? The person who caused his daughter's death? Exactly, Mr. McSuthers. Sam Westing plotted against the person he held responsible for his daughter's suicide. The person who forced Violet Westing to marry a man she loathed. Mrs. Westing? But that's not possible. Judge, Mrs. Westing is not one of the heirs. I think she is, Mr. McSuthers. Former wife of Sam Westing must be one of the heirs. Mrs. Westing is the answer, and whoever she is the one we have to protect. Chapter 21, The Fourth Bomb. The door to apartment 2C opened. Flora Baumbach screamed, and Turtle flung herself on the pile of money they had been counting. It was Theo, not the thief. Can I borrow your bike for a few hours? It's very important. Theo was not a runner, like Doug, who was fuming about his being so late. He needed that bicycle to follow Otis Amber right now. Turtle stared at him in stony silence. I didn't make that sign in the elevator. Besides, you already kicked me for it. Please, Turtle. She still wouldn't answer, punk kid. I had a long talk with the police today, but I refused to tell them who the bomber was. What's that supposed to mean? What does she think it means? It means that he and everybody else knows that Turtle is the bomber. Never mind. Can I have your bike or not? Why do you want it? Theo ground his teeth. Take it easy. Anger won't help any more than blackmail did. Try being a good guy. I saw Angela in the hospital today. She sends her regards. What's that supposed to mean? You let me have that bike, Turtle Wexler, or else. Turtle did not have to ask what or else meant. Police, bomber, Angela. But how did Theo find out? Here, she threw the padlock key across the room and waited for him to rush out before she let go of the money. He's such a nice boy, Flora Baumbach remarked. Sure, Turtle replied, dialing the telephone number of the hospital. Angela Wexler, room 325. Room 325 is not accepting any calls. Turtle hung up the phone. If Theo knew, others knew. Angela had set off those fireworks, wanting to get caught. But it was different now. Now she was confused. Now she was just plain scared. They could force a confession out of her in no time. The guilt was right there, staring out of those big blue eyes. Maybe they're questioning her now. Baba, I'm not feeling so good. I think I'll go home to bed. Weaving through rush hour traffic on Turtle's bike, Theo trailed the bus to a seamy downtown district across the railroad tracks where Crow and Otis got off. Skid Row. The pair wandered through the dimly littered and stinking street, bending over grimy bums asleep in doorways, raising them to their unsteady feet, and leading the ragtag procession into a decaying storefront. Paint was peeling off the letters on the window. Good Salvation Soup Kitchen. A drunken wreck of a man lurched into Theo, who put a quarter into the filthy outstretched hand, more of a fright than charity. Snatches of hymn singing drifted toward him at the last straggler staggered through the door. Theo crossed the narrow street and pressed his nose against the steamy soup kitchen window. Rows of wretched souls sat hunched on wooden benches. Crow stood before them in her neat black dress, her hands raised toward the crumbling ceiling. Behind her, Otis Amber stirred a boiling mess in a big iron pot. Theo pedaled back to Sunset Towers at a furious pace. Whatever brought Crow and Otis Amber to these lower depths was none of his business. He hated himself for spying. He hated Sam Westing and his dirty money and his dirty game. Theo felt as dirty as the derelicts he spied on. Dirtier. The judge thought they had finished with the heirs. Not quite, the doorman said. McSuthers. Alexander McSuthers. Called Sandy. Age 65. Born Edinburgh, Scotland. Immigrated to Wisconsin. Age 3. Education 8th grade. Jobs mill worker. Union organizer. Prize fighter. Doorman. Married. 6 children. 2 grandchildren. Westing connection. Worked in Westing paper plant 20 years. Fired by Sam Westing himself for trying to organize the workers. No pension. Sandy turned to a blank page, pushed his tape glasses up the broken bridge of his nose, and looked at the judge. Name? It had not seemed sporting to investigate one's own partner, but McSuthers was right. This was a Westing game. Of course she had kept some facts from him about the other heirs, but only because she did not trust his blabbering. Josie Joe Forward, with a hyphen, being Josie and Joe. Age? 42. Education? Columbia. Law degree. Harvard. The judge waited for the doorman to enter the information in his slow, cramped letter. He had to be meticulous in order to prove he was better than his 8th grade education. It's a pity he had not gone further. He was quite a clever man. Jobs: Assistant District Attorney, Judge, Family Court, State Supreme Court, Appellate Division. Appellate has 2 P's and 2 L's. Never married, no children. Westing connection? The judge paused, then spoke so rapidly Sandy had to stop taking notes. My mother was a servant in the Westing household. My father worked for a railroad and was gardener on his days off. You mean you lived in the Westing house? Sandy asked with obvious surprise. You knew the Westings? I barely saw Mrs. Westing. Violet was a few years younger than I, doll-like and delicate. She was not allowed to play with other children, especially the skinny, long-legged black daughter of the servants. Gee, you must have been lonely, Judge, having nobody to play with. I played with Sam Westing, chess. Hour after hour, I sat staring down at the chessboard. He lectured me, he insulted me, he won every game. The judge thought of their last game. She had been so excited about taking his queen, only to have the master checkmate her in the next move. Sam Westing had deliberately sacrificed his queen, and she had fallen for it. Stupid child, you can't have a brain in that frizzy head to make a move like that. Those were the last words he ever said to her. The judge continued. I was sent to boarding school when I was 12. My parents visited me at school when they could, but I never set foot in the Westing house again, not until 2 weeks ago. Your folks must have really worked hard, Sandy said. An education like that costs a fortune. Sam Westing paid for my education. He saw that I was accepted into the best schools, probably arranged for my first job, perhaps more. I don't know. That's the first decent thing I've heard about the old man. Hardly decent, Mr. McSuthers. It was to Sam Westing's advantage to have a judge in his debt. Needless to say, I have excused myself from every case remotely connected with the Westing affairs. You're awfully hard on yourself, Judge, and on him. Maybe Westing paid for your education because you were smart and needy, and you did all the rest by yourself. This is getting us nowhere, Mr. McSuthers. Just write Westing connection. Education financed by Sam Westing. Debt never repaid. Theo, upset over his Skid Row snooping, took out his anger on the up button, poking it, jabbing it until the elevator finally made its way down to the lobby. Slowly, the door slid open. He stared down at the sputtering arsenal, yelled at the belly flop to the carpet as rockets whizzed out of the elevator, inches above his head. Boom, boom! A blinding flash of white fire streaked through the lobby, through the open entrance door, and burst into a chrysanthemum of color in the night sky. Then the elevator door closed. The bomber had made one mistake. The last rocket blasted off when the elevator returned to the 3rd floor. Boom! By the time the bomb squad reached the scene, by the way of the stairs, the smoke had cleared, but the young girl was still huddled on the hallway floor, tears streaming down her turtle-like face. For heaven's sake, say something, her mother said. Tell me where it hurts. The pain was too great to put into words. 5 inches of turtle's braid were badly singed. Grace Wexler attacked the policeman. Nothing but a childish prank, you said. Some childish prank. Both my children cruelly injured. Almost killed. Maybe now you'll do something. Now it's too late. Unshaken by the mother's anger, the policeman held up the sign that had been taped to the elevator wall. The bomber strikes again. On the reverse side was a handwritten composition. How I Spent My Summer Vacation by Turtle Wexler. Grace grabbed the theme and shook it at her daughter. who was being rocked in poor Boblock's arms. Somebody stole this from you, didn't they, Turtle? You couldn't have done such an awful thing, not to Angela, not to your own sister. Could you, Turtle? Could you? I want to see a lawyer, Turtle replied. The bomb squad, faced with 6 hours overtime filling out forms and delivering the delinquent to a juvenile detention facility, decided it was best for all concerned to escort the prisoner to the apartment 4D and place her in the custody of Judge Ford. Judge Ford put on a black robe and seated herself behind the desk. Before her stood a downcast child looking very sad and very sorry. Not at all like the Turtle she knew. You surprised me, Turtle Wexler. I thought you were too smart to commit such a dangerous, destructive, and stupid act. Yes, ma'am. Why did you do it, Turtle? To hurt someone? To get even with someone? No, ma'am. Of course not. Turtle kicked shins. She was not the type to bottle up her anger. You do understand that a child would not receive a harsh penalty as an adult would. That there would be no permanent criminal record? Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. She was protecting someone. She had set off the fireworks in the elevator to divert suspicion from the real bomber. But who was the real bomber? Nothing to do but drag it out of her, name by name, starting with the least likely. Are you protecting Angela? No. The judge was astounded by the excited response. Angela could not be the bomber. Not that sweet, pretty thing. Thing? Is that how she regarded that young woman, as a thing? And what had she ever said to her except, I hear you're getting married, Angela, or how pretty you look, Angela? Had anyone asked about her ideas, her hopes, or plans? If I had been treated like that, I'd used dynamite, not fireworks. No, I would have just walked out and kept right on going. But Angela was different. What a senseless thing to do, the judge said aloud. Yes, ma'am. Turtle stared down at the carpet, wondering if she had given Angela away. Judge Ford rose and placed an arm around Turtle's bony shoulders. She had never wished for a sister until this moment. Turtle, will you give me your word that you will never play with fireworks again? Yes, ma'am. While we're at it, do you have anything else to confess? Yes, ma'am. I was in the Westing house the night Mr. Westing died. Good Lord, child, sit down and tell me. Turtle began with the Purple Wave story, went on to the whisperings, the bedded down corpse, the dropped peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in her mother's cross, and ended with the $24 she had won. Did either you or Doug Who call the police? No, ma'am. We were too scared. We just ran. Is that a crime? The judge said it was a criminal offense to conceal a murder. But Mr. Westing didn't look murdered, Turtle argued. He looked asleep, like he did in the coffin. He looked like a wax dummy. A wax dummy? Now Turtle was the one surprised by the excited response. The judge thinks it might have been a real wax dummy, not a corpse at all. Then what happened to Sam Westing? The judge regained her composure. Not reporting a dead body is a violation of the health code, but I wouldn't worry about it. Is there anything else, Turtle? Yes, ma'am, Turtle replied, glancing at the portable bar. Could I have a little bourbon? What? Just a little. On a piece of cotton to put in my cavity. My tooth hurts something awful. Relieved at not having a juvenile alcoholic on her hands, Judge Ford prepared the home remedy. Is that better? Good. You may go home now. Home meant going to Baba. Baba loved her no matter what, and Turtle didn't care if the others thought she was the bomber, except Sandy. He was walking toward her right now, walking his bouncy walk, but not smiling. Sandy is disappointed in her. He thinks she hurt her own sister. He doesn't want to be friends anymore. How's my girl? Sandy said, cupping his hand under her chin and lifting her head. Whew, hitting the bottle again? It's just bourbon on my cotton for my toothache. Yeah, I've heard that one before. Honest. Sandy Turtle was pointing inside her wide open mouth. The doorman peered in. Wow, that's some cavity. It looks like the Grand Canyon. Tomorrow morning, you're going to see my dentist. No back talk. He's very gentle. You won't feel a thing. Promise you'll go? Turtle nodded. Sandy smiled. Good, then down to business. My wife's having a birthday tomorrow. I thought one of your gorgeous striped candles would make a swell present. There's only one candle left, Turtle replied. It's the best of the lot. 6 super colors. I spent a lot of time making it. That's why I wouldn't part with it. But since it's for your wife's birthday, Sandy, I'll let you have it for only $5, and I won't charge you sales tax. Try not to stick your fanny out so far, Angela said from her chair. Now that Sidel Pulaski depended on crutches, she lurched clumsily, hobbled by old habits. Just keep reading those clues, the secretary straightened, shoulders back, stomach in, until her next step. With her telephone switched off and contagious disease added to the no visitor sign, the bomb victims had privacy at last. Sidel had twice read the entire will aloud. Now Angela, her hands unbandaged, was reshuffling the collected clues. Grains, spacious, grace, good. Hood, with, beautiful, majesties, from, thy, purple, waves, on or no? Mountain. Again, Sidel ordered. Change them around and read them. Read either the word on or the word no. Both together are confusing. Good, spacious grains, with grace on thy purple mountain, hood, waves from, majesties, beautiful. Shh! Someone was at the door. Angela picked up the note that was slipped underneath. My darling Angela, I guess the sign on the door means I should stay away too. I understand. We both need time to think things over. I'll wait. I love you, Denton. What does it say? What does it say? Siddell pressed, but Angela read only the postscript aloud. P.S. You have another admirer. Chris wants to give you and Miss Pulaski one of our clues. Flora Baumbach has seen it too. The word is plane. Like an airplane? Siddell asked. No, plane. Like ordinary. Like the wide open plains. Plains, grains. Quick, Angela. Read the clues again. Good hood from spacious plain grains on with beautiful waves grace thy purple mountain majesties. That's it, Angela. We got it. We got it. Siddell could barely control her excitement. The will said, sing in praise of this generous land. The will said, may God thy gold refine. America, Angela, America, purple mountain majesties. Angela whooped. Whoopee. Fortunately, Siddell Pulaski was close to the bed when she threw her crutches in the air. Chapter 22. Losers, Winners. Saturday morning, a new message was posted in the elevator. I, Turtle Wexler, confess to those 4 bombs. I'm sorry. It was a dumb thing to do, and I won't do it again. But I am not the burglar, and have never murdered anybody ever. Your friend Turtle. P.S. To make up for scaring you, I will treat everybody here to an exquisite Chinese cuisine dinner when I win the inheritance. Poor Grace, Mr. Who said. One daughter almost killed, the other one a bomber. Smart aleck kid. First she blows up my kitchen, then she advertises my cuisine. Win the inheritance? Ha! Maybe I'm lucky my son is a dumb jock. Boom, Madame Who said happily. She knew where they were going. Always on the day when Doug ate 6 eggs for breakfast, he ran around and around a big track and people clapped and gave him a shiny medal. Doug was so proud of his medals, she would never take them, not even a gold one, not even if it took her 2 more years to pay to go back to China. No, she would never get Doug's medals, and she would never sell that wonderful clock with the mouse who wears the gloves and points to the time. You must be out of your mind, Jake Wexler. Go to a track meet with all those people pointing at me, snickering, saying, look, there she is, the mother of Cain and Abel. I'm not even sure I have the nerve to show my face at the Westinghouse tonight. Come on, Grace, it'll do you good, the podiatrist urged his reluctant wife down the 3rd floor hall. Stop thinking about yourself for a change. Think about how poor Turtle must feel. Don't ever mention that child to me again. Not after what she did to Angela. I never told you this, Jake, but I've always had a sinking sensation that the hospital mixed up the babies when Turtle was born. It's no wonder she wanted to blow us all up. Grace's despair exploded in anger. Oh, I get it. You're putting the blame on me. If you had given her a good talking to about kicking people when I asked, she might not have ended up a common criminal. Whatever became of that fun-loving woman I married? What was her name? Gracie Winclapple? Grace quickly looked around to see if anyone had overheard that ugly name, but they were in the elevator, alone. Oh, I know what people think, she complained. Poor Jake Wexler, good guy, everybody's friend, married to that uppity would-be decorator. Well, Angela's not going to have to scrimp and to save to make ends meet. She's going to marry a real doctor. I'll see to that. Sure you will, Grace. You'll see that Angela doesn't marry a loser like her father. A real doctor, she says. A podiatrist is a real doctor. Well, it is these days. But when he went to school, it was different. He could have gone back, taken more courses, but he was married by then. A father. Oh, who's he kidding? Gracie's right. He is a loser. Next, she'll mention having to give up her family because she married a Jew. No, she never brings that up. Grace, with all her faults, would never do that. The elevator door opened to the lobby. Grace turned to her silent, sad-eyed husband, the loser. Oh, Jake, what's happening to us? What's happening to me? Maybe they're right. Maybe I'm not a nice person. Jake pressed the closed door button and took his sobbing wife into his arms. It's all right, Gracie. We're going home. The doors opened on the 2nd floor. Mom, what's the matter with her? Daddy, she's crying. Gee, Mom, I'm sorry. It was just a few fireworks. If her mother ever found out who the real bomber was, she'd really go to pieces. Turtle looked even more like a turtle today, with her sad little face peering out of the kerchief tied under her small chin. Let go of the door, Turtle, Jake said, and have a good time at the track meet. You too, Mrs. Baumbach. Track meet? They weren't going to a track meet, and they sure were not going to have a good time. Grace was still sobbing on Jake's shoulder as he led her into their apartment. Mother, what's the matter? What's wrong with her, Dad? Nothing, Angela. Your mother's just having a good cry. Why don't you and Miss Pulaski leave us alone for a while? Come, Angela, Siddell said, prodding her with the tip of one of her mismatched crutches. We have some painting to do. Angela looked back at the embracing couple. Her father's face was buried in her weeping mother's tousled hair. They had not asked how she got home from the hospital by taxi. They had not asked if she was still in pain. Not much. They had not even peeked under the bandage to see if a scar was forming on her cheek. There was. Angela was on her own. Well, that's what she wanted, wasn't it? Yes, yes, it was. She uttered a short laugh, and her hand flew up to the pain in her face. Do I look funny or something? No, I wasn't laughing at you, Sidel. I never laugh at you. It's just that suddenly everything seemed all right. It's all right, her partner replied, unlocking the 4 locks on her apartment door. Tonight's the night we're going to win it all. Were they? The will said look for a name. They had a song, not a name. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, Sidel began to sing, for purple waves of grain. Not purple, Angela corrected her. Amber. For amber waves of grain. Amber! Judge Ford paced the floor. Tonight Sam Westing would wreak his revenge unless she could prevent it. If she was right, the person in danger was the former Mrs. Westing. And if Turtle was right about the wax dummy, Sam Westing himself might be there to watch the fun. There was a knock on her door. The judge was surprised to see Denton Deer, even more surprised when he wheeled Chris Theodorakis into her apartment. Hello, Judge. Everybody else in the building is going to the track meet, it seems. I passed Sandy on the way out, and he said you wouldn't mind having Chris for the part of the afternoon. I've got to get back to the hospital. Hello, Judge Ford. Chris held out a steady hand, which the judge shook. You're looking well, Chris. The medicine helped a lot. It's a big step forward, the intern said. Wrong word. The kid may never leave that wheelchair. Even more effective medication is now in the developmental stage. That really sounded pompous. Well, so long, Chris. See you tonight. Thanks, Judge. He knows a lot of big words, Chris said. Yes, he certainly does, Judge Ford replied. What was she going to do with this boy here? She had so much to think about, so much to plan. You can work. I'll birdwatch, Chris offered, wheeling to the window, his binoculars banging against his thin chest. Good idea. The judge returned to her desk to study the newspaper clippings. Mrs. Westing, a tall, thin woman. She may no longer be thin, but she would still be tall. About 60 years old. If Sam Westing's former wife was one of the heirs, she had to be Crow. Look, Chris shouted, startling the judge into dropping her files to the floor. She rushed to his side, thinking he needed help. Look up there, Judge. Isn't it beautiful? High in the sky, in the fall sky, a V of geese was flying south. Yes, it was, a beautiful sight. Those are geese, the judge explained. Canada goose, Chris replied. The judge was impressed, but she had work to do. Stooping to gather the dropped clippings, she was confronted by the face of Sam Westing. The photograph had been taken 15 years ago. Those piercing eyes, the Van Dyke beard, that short-beaked nose, like a turtle's, the waxy dummy in the coffin, had been molded in the former image of Sam Westing, as he had looked 15 years ago, not as he looked now. She searched the folder. No recent photographs, no hospital records, no death certificate, just the accident report from the State Highway Police. Dr. Sidney Sykes suffered a crushed leg, and Samuel W. Westing had severe facial injuries. It was the face that had disappeared 15 years ago, not the man. Westing had a different face, a face remolded by plastic surgery, a different face in a different name. Now what? Her gaze rested on her charge at the window. Feeling her eyes, Chris turned around. The boy had a nice smile.